Okay? I'm going to call this local planning agency meeting to order of March 6th. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. We now have MPH 1, Gaston Family Holdings LLC rezoning. Please, give us all you got.
This is a quasi-judicial. I have no
Oh,
ex parte
I'm
communications
sorry,
with the legal.
quasi-judicial. Does anyone have any? No, I have none either.
Swear in.
Okay, would you please get up, sir, the applicant and the,
Raise your right hand. Please, I already did that part. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Right.
okay, now, please, Mr. Sinnet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the LPA. I'm John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. A copy of my work history has been filed with the clerk, and there are no interveners for this item. This is a request by Gunster, Yockley, and Stewart on behalf of Gaston Family Holdings for a proposed amendment to the county zoning atlas to change the zoning district classification for an approximately 2.15 acre marine sales and service facility from the current B1 Business District and R3A Liberal Multiple Family District to the GC General Commercial District. The site is located at 4900 Southeast Federal Highway in Stewart. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption. The property is outlined in red. It's located about 120 feet south of the intersection of Southeast Carroll Street and Southeast Federal Highway. To the north of the site, you can see the Ace of Carts facility, as well as the Napa Auto Parts facility on the corner of Carroll and Federal Highway. To the east of the property, across US 1, is general commercial buildings like Sky King Fireworks, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Harley Davidson. To the south of the property is the Sunshine Mobile Manor community. The area to the west of the property is predominantly mobile and modular homes. And then to the north of the property, beyond Napa Auto Parts, is the Natalie Estates mobile home community. The future land use designation of the property and the abutting properties to the west and north is general commercial. You can see across US 1, that area is also predominantly the general commercial future land use. And the broader area to the west, south, and north of the property in the pink is the mobile home future land use designation. The eastern portion of the property is zoned B1 Business District, while the western portion is zoned R3A Liberal Multiple Family District. You can see the abutting properties to the north and west are also zoned R3A. Across US 1 in red, you can see the GC zoning district. And the areas to the south, west, and north of the property also have the TP RT zoning districts. The existing B1 and R3A zoning districts are Category C zoning districts. This application is being processed as a mandatory rezoning to a Category A district, which implements the policies for the general commercial future land use designation. There is one standard zoning district that both implements the general commercial future land use designation and allows the current use of the property as a marine sales and service facility, and that is the GC General Commercial District. PUD zoning is also an additional option, however, the applicant is requesting the GC General Commercial District. These are the development standards for the proposed GC district. Maximum building coverage, 60%. Maximum building height, 40 feet. Minimum open space of 20%. The setbacks for a one-story structure within the GC district would be 25 feet in the front, 20 in the rear, 10 feet on the sides. These are the conditions supporting the requested GC district. The existing future land use designation of general commercial for the site. The site's location along Southeast Federal Highway, a major arterial roadway. The existing use of the site as a marine sales and service facility. The GC zoning district allows uses which are consistent with the uses permitted in the existing B1 and R3A zoning districts. Development review staff have found the Gaston Family Holdings rezoning application to comply with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommend approving the request to rezone from B1 Business District and R3A Liberal Multiple Family District to GC General Commercial District. That concludes my presentation.
Do we have any questions for staff?
How do we change this so we don't have to come here for this when it's a mandatory zoning? If it's a mandatory rezoning, and there's a whole bunch of us sitting here wasting our time tonight, I guess that's a legal question. How do we get through this? This is a bunch of baloney. I mean,
Well, we're required under Florida law to hold a quasi-judicial proceeding for any rezoning to give the property owner their due process. We can't just do it. We could try to schedule it with other things so you don't come just for a mandatory rezoning, but we do have to have the quasi-judicial proceedings.
the state law,
Yeah, state law.
but even though it's mandatory, we still got to
Yes.
waste the applicant's time and money?
It's mandatory because of our zoning code, so yes, even though.
How do we change our zoning code to stop that? Would
Well-
the commissioner do that?
They could, but the zoning code has been changed 3 different times. The first category C is from 1967, so the uses have changed, so it's important to come up to the current zoning code. So I think that's why this is mandatory partially.
Do you think that we could schedule it with other?
Yes, we could, but I agree, but sometimes these are contingent on the board meeting next week, so there might have been a timing aspect, but I think staff does try to do that.
You try to plan ahead and do this, but you got to remember that we have to advertise these several weeks in advance. So sometimes we'll have other things in companion agenda items that get delayed or something
I'm just
else.
going to say, if we keep talking about why we're here, we're going to get out of here.
Well,
So
it
Does
just,
anyone have any questions for staff regarding this particular?
Forward to the applicant.
Okay. Applicant, give it to us all.
Good evening. For the record, Bob Raines. I'm a land use attorney with the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant this evening, and I would like to begin by having the record reflect that I have with me the proof and notices to the surrounding property owners, and I'm turning those in to Deputy Pine, into the clerk at this point. First of all, thank you for taking time to be here this evening. We do appreciate and recognize your all's time, and so thank you for accommodating us this evening for being here. I think this is, as was mentioned, pretty straightforward. It's a mandatory rezoning. I think Mr. Sennett did his usual excellent job. I would just, and I also, by the way, I have, obviously, my client, the applicant, is here this evening if you have any questions for him. I just, again, would emphasize mandatory rezoning. I think what's important, usually when we have rezonings, we can't talk about uses on the property and stuff, but in this particular case, it's important that we have the GC to recognize the long-time existing use of this property. It actually, commercial uses have been occurring on this property since back in the 1960s, and the marina itself has been operating since, I think, in the 1990s, and Mr. Gaston's family took over. They've been operating it since 2005. So, and also, I think, too, the GC, just like to emphasize, is consistent with what was the original zoning, this Category C that was mentioned, the B1 and the R3A. So we believe it's the most appropriate, and we would ask you to accept staff's recommendation, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
You have any questions?
no, I've asked mine.
And again, thank you for your time.
I don't mind being here. I mean, I signed up for it.
Well, I mean, I would point out that it's the marine sales component of it that requires the GC rather than the limited commercial, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's the retail.
Yes,
sales.
sir. Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, and by the way, they can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the limited commercial is consistent with the general commercial land use, does
Well,
it?
that was kind of the reason I asked the question.
Yeah, so-
was that it was not even offered other than the PUD as an alternative to the GC.
Yeah, so the limited commercial is only applicable, I believe, with the limited commercial land use designation. We have a
But
land
it's
use designation.
general commercial, which would have either general commercial or limited commercial. So the underlying land use is general commercial, correct?
Correct.
And so,
Limited commercial is
have
not an
either.
option with the general commercial land use.
That's correct. Limited commercial is not an option. Community commercial would be,
Right.
But that would be a downzoning from the B1 and the R3A.
And that might be what
And it
you're.
would, and I think it would limit the retail sales as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, does anyone have any discussion?
Can I make a motion?
You may,
Oh, I was just going to say, can we just let the record reflect that there's no public here for public comment? So it's clear.
okay. The
Thank you.
record reflects that there's no one here for public comment.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the.
I'd make a
Okay.
motion to second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinnet. And I agree with my colleagues. This is silly, but I understand why it's silly, and I understand that we have to do it, and it's just the way it is.
It was made mandatory basically to, for one, reduce the actual fees involved because it is mandatory and it is
That's right.
hang up from the 3 different iterations of zoning code over the last 60 years where we never rezoned the county. So we adopted several different zoning codes but never rezoned. So this is where we're at.
You want to ask us that critical question?
Yes, we don't have anything planned for March 20th, so enjoy that night. And our next meeting is April 3rd, and we do have several items on that agenda.
I will be there.
As far as I know, I'll be there.
Will not be here on the 20th,
right.
regardless of what you have planned.
How about the 3rd?
And I will be here on the 3rd.
I will not be here on the 3rd. I'm out of town.
Okay, so, but we've
And-
got 3. Okay, great,
So we have at least 3, maybe 4.
sounds great.
Okay? Is there any other business? Seeing none?
Motion to adjourn?
We don't even need a motion anymore. We're adjourned.